Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this pretty card. I've used the Dandelions 3D embossing folder. The sentiment comes from the Dandelion Wishes stamp set. Now in this video I'll show you the technique of inking up embossing folders. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. This is the Dandelions 3D embossing folder. Now it's 6 inches square and it's one of the thicker ones. I'm going to open up my folder, and the side you ink is the debossed side. So it's the side on the left. It should be completely smooth to touch. There shouldn't be any sticky uppy bits that you can feel. This time I'm going to use Pool Party ink. Now there are many ways that you can ink up a folder. First of all, you can dab your ink pad all over it, or you could swipe with it. But be aware that if you swipe, the swipe marks will show on your finished project. Now you can also use a sponge dauber, a piece of sponge, or a sponge brayer, and each of these methods will give you different results. I like to apply the ink using a rubber brayer. Now this is a speedball brayer, and it's one that Stampin' Up used to sell, but they don't any longer. But you can buy these exact ones in many other places. Now I prefer to use a brayer because you get an even, smooth coating of ink on your folder. You need to ink up your brayer so it's thoroughly covered, and ink it up in one direction. Don't go forwards and backwards because you won't cover the whole brayer. Then apply the ink to your folder, and I'm going to do several layers. I could leave it as this and I'll get a very pale result, and it would be a little patchy, but by putting more layers it smooths and evens out. I've got my Whisper White panel here, and I'm going to add it to the right hand side of the folder. I'm going to pick the folder up and then place my panel where I want it against the dandelion designs. And I want one of those dandelions to be cut off slightly. So I'm positioning it, making sure it's straight, and then I can very carefully close my folder. Then I can run it through my die cutting machine. And this is the result that I've got this time. Each time you do this technique, the result you get will be slightly different. Now I've got a good even coat. I've got one little missed white patch. Now that could be because my ink had started to dry, or it could be that I need a thicker shim in my die cutting machine when I run it through. But I'm quite happy with this. You will never get a perfect result with this technique. Now if you've got a lot of white patches or missed areas, it could be that your ink was left to dry too long, or you need to add a shim to your sandwich. I'll eventually add my emboss panel to my Misty Moonlight mat, and this I've already embossed using one of the Meadow Moments embossing folders. These come in a set of 2 and I've used the top one. These folders aren't wide enough to emboss the full panel, so I've just done the left hand side. I've made my embossed panel slightly bigger than my Misty Moonlight panel, and the reason for this is that I can tear it easily. Now when you tear, you want to tear towards you, and that will give you this lovely edge. There's no right or wrong when doing this, just go with it. Now I'm only going to tear a little piece from the top because I don't want too much of a border showing. And I just need to take off that top corner a bit. and then put it up against my Misty Moonlight mat just to check that I'm happy with it, and this looks fine. I'm going to darken all the edges of my embossed panel slightly using the same colour ink, so Pool Party. Now you could leave them white if you prefer, so it's just personal preference. I'm adding the ink with a sponge dauber and I'm just flicking the edges. The edges are tilted upwards slightly. The sentiment that I'm going to use comes from the Dandelion Wishes stamp set. Before stamping, I'm going to prep my cinnamon cider cardstock with my embossing buddy. I'll then stamp my sentiment using Versamark ink and cover it with white embossing powder. I can then melt the powder with my heat tool. And then it'll be punched out using the Story label punch. My card base is also in cinnamon cider, and this is half a standard sheet of card, scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Now for inside the card I have a Whisper White mat, then I have a strip of Misty Moonlight cardstock onto which I'm going to layer some of our Subtles Designer Series paper. This actual design is retired. Then I'll trim that down and add it to the bottom of my Whisper White mat. I have my embossed panel, my Misty Moonlight panel and my sentiment, which I've added dimensionals onto the back. And then I have 4 pieces of ribbon. First of all, I have some of the polka dot tulle ribbon. The shorter length is to go round the card and the longer length is for the knot. And then this other ribbon is from the Magnolia Lane combo ribbon pack, which unfortunately is retired. But you could use any contrasting ribbon. If I had had some Pool Party, I would have used that. And that's it. That's my card complete. A fairly quick card to make. And here's another look at my original card. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.